The
She
day
is the
Clara
one who
was
stole
thrown
the
out of
necklace.
Ashford Palace,
We found it in her
she lost her
possession.
job,
I
her
swear I
home,
did not take
and the
it.
only
There is
person
no
she
mercy
believed
for a
would
thief.
stand by her asterisk. What she didn't lose was the secret she had protected for 8 years. A secret that would soon make an entire palace regret the way they treated her during her 8 years of service at Ashford Palace. Clara never imagined that the event that would change her life forever would not be a mistake she had made, but a mistake made by the people around her asterisk. She was only a maid, one of hundreds of servants working behind the grand walls of the royal residence, and most of the time, her existence was almost invisible to the nobles who lived there. Yet there was one thing people noticed. At the end of every month, after receiving her wages, Clara would disappear for about an hour and return with only half of the money she had been paid. Asterisk, no one knew where the other half went. No one knew who she was helping, and because people often find it easier to believe the worst than the best, rumors began to spread. Asterisk. Some claimed she was paying off a secret debt. Asterisk. Others believed she was hiding a second life somewhere beyond the capital. Asterisk. A few even insisted she was involved in something shameful that she dared not reveal. Asterisk. Clara never offered an explanation. Asterisk. Whenever someone asked, she would simply smile and change the subject, as though the answer belonged to a part of her life she wished to keep private. The person most disturbed by Clara's silence was Lady Victoria. Asterisk. In her eyes, people who refused to explain themselves usually had something to hide. Asterisk. So when Duchess Eleanor's priceless diamond necklace disappeared after a royal gala, Victoria wasted no time mentioning Clara's name. Asterisk. Within hours, whispers spread throughout the palace. Within a single day, suspicion had become certainty. Clara still remembered the feeling of being summoned to the Grand Hall. Asterisk. The people who had spoken to her every day now looked at her with unfamiliar eyes. Asterisk. Those she had quietly helped over the years stood in silence. Asterisk. But what hurt her most was seeing who stood beside Lady Victoria that day. Prince Alexander. For years, he had been kinder to her than most members of the royal household. It was not romance or favoritism. He simply treated her like a human being. Because of that, when Clara saw him standing there, she allowed herself to hope that he would at least listen. "Clara," Alexander said, his voice calm but colder than she had ever heard before, "the necklace has disappeared. And you were the last person seen near the Duchess's dressing room." A knot formed in Clara's throat. "Your Highness, I didn't take it." Victoria immediately stepped forward. "Then explain why you always need money. Explain why half of your salary disappears every month." Murmurs swept through the room. Clara glanced around. Asterisk. No one truly wanted to hear her answer. Asterisk. They only wanted confirmation of what they had already decided to believe. "I can't tell." "You," Victoria laughed. "Of course you can't." Clara turned toward Alexander. "One last time, I didn't take the necklace." A heavy silence followed. Then Alexander said the words she would never forget: "Until this matter is resolved, you are suspended from your duties and must leave the palace." No one objected, no one defended her, and in that moment, Clara realized that losing her job was not the most painful part. Asterisk. The most painful part was discovering that the one person she trusted had chosen to doubt her, just like everyone else. The next morning, Clara left the palace carrying nothing but a small suitcase. Asterisk. No one came to see her off. No one asked where she would go. To most people, the story was over. But 3 weeks later, the truth emerged. The necklace was discovered in the luggage of another servant who had been planning to flee the country. Asterisk. When he was arrested, he confessed to everything. Asterisk. Clara had been completely innocent. News shocked the entire palace. Those who had accused her suddenly avoided mentioning her name. Asterisk. Lady Victoria called it an unfortunate misunderstanding. Asterisk. But for Alexander, it was much more than that. Asterisk. He could not forget the look in Clara's eyes that day in the Grand Hall. Asterisk. It was not the look of someone being questioned. It was the look of someone being betrayed for the first time in years. He felt ashamed of himself, determined to apologize. Alexander followed the few clues he had and eventually arrived in a small town, several hours from the capital Asterisk. What he found there left him speechless. There was no secret lover, no hidden debt, no shameful secret, only an old, weathered house filled with 12 children laughing and playing in the yard. An elderly woman immediately recognized Clara's name. "That girl?" she said with a warm smile. Asterisk. Without Clara, this place would have closed years ago. Alexander stared at her in disbelief. The woman explained that for 8 years, Clara had sent half of her salary every single month to support the orphanage. Asterisk. There had been months when she barely had enough money for herself. Asterisk. Winters when she wore the same worn-out coat for another year, so she could send a little more to the children. She never wanted anyone to know, the old woman said softly. Asterisk. She always said that helping people wasn't something you should do for praise. Alexander stood in the middle of the yard, surrounded by the laughter of children whose lives had been changed by one woman's quiet generosity. Asterisk. While the palace had spent years suspecting Clara because of the money that disappeared every month, she had been keeping this orphanage alive. Asterisk. While he had stood before a crowd and doubted her, she had spent nearly a decade doing something many wealthier people had never done. A few days later, Alexander found Clara. "I didn't trust you." Those were the first words he spoke. Clara looked at him for a long moment before offering a small, sad smile. "It wasn't only you, Your Highness." Her answer made him feel even worse because he understood that what had hurt her most was not the accusation itself. It was realizing that the people she saw every day had been so willing to believe the worst about her. A week later, Clara returned to the palace at Alexander's invitation. Asterisk. Standing before the entire royal staff, the prince publicly revealed the truth about the orphanage and the money Clara had quietly sent for 8 years. The room fell silent. Those who had doubted her could not raise their heads. Even Lady Victoria stepped forward and offered an apology, but what surprised everyone most was Clara's response. "I forgive all of you," she said gently. Asterisk. Because if kindness only exists when people believe in it, then it was never kindness at all. No one forgot those words. 1 year later, with Prince Alexander's support, the orphanage had grown into the largest children's care center in the region. Asterisk. The children who once worried about their next meal now had classrooms, books, a library, and hope for the future. Asterisk. Many people said Clara had finally received the reward she deserved. Asterisk. But the truth was that she had never done any of it for recognition. Asterisk. What made her happiest was seeing those children smile each morning and knowing they would have opportunities she never had. Perhaps that was the lesson the entire palace learned from Clara. Asterisk. A person is not made noble by wealth, status, or the crown upon their head, but by the number of lives they quietly make better. Asterisk. In the end, true kindness does not need to be seen to exist. Asterisk. It only needs a heart brave enough to keep giving, even when no one is watching. If Clara's story touched your heart, let us know in the comments below. Asterisk. Do you believe that quiet acts of kindness are always rewarded in the end? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more emotional royal stories filled with compassion, forgiveness, and justice.